Procrastination is the opposite of decision. It is the most common enemy among those who fail. Napoleon Hill. 95% of people who set an important goal in the last 48 hours have not yet taken the first concrete step toward achieving it. Stop for a second. Read that again. 95%. That number comes from a University of Scranton study published in 2015, and it reveals something that will make you uncomfortable, because you are probably in that group right now. There is a critical task you know you should do today. Maybe open that account, send that email, sit down and plan the next quarter. You know which one it is. You felt it just now when I said it, and even knowing its importance, even feeling the urgency, you are here, postponing again. This is not an accident, this is not weakness, and it is definitely not laziness. Napoleon Hill documented this pattern in thousands of interviews between 1908 and 1937, long before any academic study existed on the subject. The vast majority of people who desire wealth and success never execute the first real move toward them, not for lack of dream, not for lack of will, because of an invisible mechanism operating inside your brain at this very moment, keeping you still while time passes. Write this down. The problem is not you. It is what is happening inside you without your knowledge. What you are going to understand in this video is not one more lecture about discipline. It is not one more list of morning habits. It is not one more person telling you to wake up at 5 in the morning and take a cold shower. What you are going to understand is the mechanism, the real gear behind procrastination, identified by Hill in 1937 and confirmed by neuroscience only in the last 2 decades. And when you understand what is really happening, 2 things will happen at the same time. The guilt you carry will evaporate, and the path will become clear, because you cannot fix what you do not understand, and you cannot understand what no one has ever properly explained to you. Stay here. This video was made for you. There is an explanation you received since childhood, simple, direct, and completely wrong. You procrastinate because you are lazy, because you lack discipline, because you do not have enough willpower. Your parents said it, your teachers repeated it. You yourself have condemned yourself with those words, looking in the mirror on a Monday morning with an untouched task list and a heavy guilt on your chest. And that belief makes perfect sense on the surface. After all, if you really wanted that result, you would simply do what needs to be done, right? If the goal truly matters, action comes naturally. If it does not come, it is because you do not want it enough. This logic dominates self-help books. It dominates motivational talks. It dominates coffee conversations, boss feedback, father's advice. And it is completely wrong. Napoleon Hill encountered this same narrative in every person he interviewed during 20 years of research. Men and women who blamed themselves for their own paralysis, who believed they carried some deep moral flaw, who saw procrastination as evidence of weak character, as if postponing a task were the same thing as not deserving the result. Hill recorded this with surgical precision. Guilt did not solve the problem. Guilt made it worse, because when you believe the problem is who you are, you do not seek to understand the mechanism. You only punish yourself more. And the paralysis continues. And here is the truth. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are stuck because no one ever explained to you what is really happening when you postpone. Write this down. Guilt without understanding is only suffering without a way out. Think about how many times you promised yourself that this time would be different. How many Mondays you declared you were going to change. How many plans you made with genuine conviction. And how many times the week ended with that task in the same place it was. Not because you are incapable, not because you do not want it, but because you were trying to solve with willpower a problem that has nothing to do with willpower. It is like trying to open a door by pushing when it opens by pulling. You can be the strongest person in the world. If you do not understand the mechanism, the door does not open. Say this out loud. I did not fail for lack of effort. I failed for lack of information. And that information exists. Hill documented it in 1937. Neuroscience confirmed it 80 years later, and it changes everything, not because it gives you more motivation, but because it finally shows you where the problem really is. The personal development market does not want you to know this. Because if you know, you stop buying discipline courses, you stop paying for productivity methods, you stop seeking more motivation as if motivation were a resource you simply do not have enough of. And you start doing the only thing that has always worked, understanding the mechanism and working with it, not against it. Let me tell you something. The men Hill studied, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Schwab, were not discipline machines. They did not wake up every day with unwavering will to work. They had bad days, they had resistance, they had tasks they avoided. What separated them from the average was not the absence of procrastination. It was the understanding of what was happening when it appeared, and the ability to reorganize the environment around it. You are going to learn to do the same. But first, you need to understand what is really operating underneath all of this. And when you understand, you will look at the last few years of your life with a clarity that will hurt a little. And at the same time, will release something you were carrying without realizing it. Before continuing, if you made it this far, you are already part of this community. Do me a favor, leave a like right now, subscribe to the channel, and comment below which city or country you are watching this video from. We want to build something great together, and every comment shows that this message is reaching where it needs to reach. We read everything. We respond to everything. So talk to us. Where are you listening to this from today? In 1937, Napoleon Hill used an expression that most people read and did not truly understand. He called it negative autosuggestion, the process by which the mind sabotages its own execution, creating invisible resistance between the declared desire and the corresponding action. Hill had no laboratory. He had no MRI machine. He had no access to the instruments that modern neuroscience uses today. But he had something that few researchers had. 20 years of direct interviews with 500 people who built real wealth and 5,000 who tried and failed. And the pattern he documented is the same that science confirmed 80 years later with millions of dollars worth of equipment. Your brain has a reward system. It has existed for thousands of years. It was built to keep you alive in a world where threats were physical, immediate, and lethal. This system releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter that triggers action when you anticipate a close and concrete reward. Food, safety, social connection, immediate relief from pain. These are the languages this system understands. Now think about what happens when you think about starting that important task. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, projects a distant result. Uncertain. That will require sustained effort for days, weeks, sometimes months. That might not work. That will generate discomfort before generating reward. Your dopaminergic system receives this information and interprets it as a threat, not an opportunity. And it cuts the supply of the neurological fuel that triggers action. Write this down. Your brain is not sabotaging you. It is protecting you in the wrong way. That is exactly what Hill documented in Carnegie, Edison, and Ford. All three described the same phenomenon of paralysis in the face of critical decisions. Not lack of ambition, not weakness of character. An internal resistance that appeared precisely on the most important tasks, the ones with the most distant result and the most uncertain path. And all three solved it the same way, each in their own words. They mentally reframed the task to create anticipation of immediate reward before starting. Say this out loud. What I call laziness is my brain asking for a reward I never gave it. And here is the detail that explains everything. It explains why you can spend 3 hours on your phone, but cannot manage 15 minutes on that project that will change your life. Social media was designed by behavioral engineers who studied exactly this dopaminergic system. Every notification is a micro-reward. Every like is dopamine. Every new video is anticipated satisfaction delivered in 2 seconds. Your primitive brain loves this. It recognizes this as valuable right now. The important task? It offers results in 90 days. The primitive brain does not speak that language. It is not weakness. It is a language incompatibility between what you want to build and what your reward system recognizes as urgent. And here is the truth. You do not have a discipline problem. You have a reward system that was never calibrated for long-term goals, because for most of human history, long-term goals did not exist. Surviving today was the only goal, and your brain still operates in that mode. Napoleon Hill saw this before science had a name for it, and the men he studied did not overcome this system by force. They won by understanding how it works and stopping fighting against it, because you do not beat your brain at arm wrestling. You learn to speak its language, and that changes the entire question. The question is no longer how to have more discipline. The question is how to build an environment where the actions that matter generate a reward your brain recognizes right now. That is the turning point. And it begins with understanding what science has proven in the last 10 years about this mechanism. Let us talk numbers. Because Hill documented the pattern, but science isolated the variable. And when the two meet, no room for doubt remains. In 2013, neuroscientist Timothy Keikel of Carleton University published a study in Psychological Bulletin that became a reference in the field. The result was direct. Procrastination does not correlate with laziness. It does not correlate with lack of intelligence. It does not correlate with absence of ambition. It correlates with reduced activation in the prefrontal cortex during tasks with delayed reward. In simple language, when the reward is distant, the brain does not turn on the engine. It is not a conscious decision. It is an automatic response from a system that does not recognize future value with the same intensity as immediate value. Hill described this exact mechanism in 1937 as the subconscious mind's refusal to accept orders without immediate compensation. Different words, same phenomenon, with 80 years of distance between them. Write this down. Your subconscious does not work for free, it demands payment now. 3 years after Keikel's study in 2016, researchers at the University of Colorado in Boulder went deeper. They identified that the nucleus accumbens, the brain region responsible for evaluating the value of a reward, shows 43% less activation in chronic procrastinators when confronted with important long-term tasks. 43%. That is not a small difference. It is almost half the neurological fuel missing at the exact moment when you most need action. Say this out loud. It is not lack of will. It is lack of fuel in the right place. And then came the study that closes the argument. In 2019, researchers at Ruhr University Bochum in Germany published something that Hill would have recognized immediately. People with greater amygdala volume, the brain structure that processes fear and anxiety, procrastinate significantly more. Not because they are fearful in the popular sense of the word, but because they anticipate future emotional discomfort with disproportionate intensity. The brain makes a quick and brutal calculation. This task will generate anxiety, uncertainty, possibility of failure. The distraction right here will generate relief right now. And the brain chooses relief every time. With mathematical precision. Let me tell you something. Napoleon Hill did not have an MRI machine in 1937. But he interviewed 500 people who built real wealth and 5,000 who failed trying. And the pattern he documented is exactly this. Those who postpone do not have less ambition, they have less neurological tolerance for present discomfort in exchange for future gain. It is not a moral failure. It is measurable data. Think about the Chicago lawyer that Hill interviewed in 1923. He earned $80,000 a year, a fortune at the time. He lived with $42,000 in debt because he systematically postponed reviewing his own finances. Every Monday, he promised to dedicate 2 hours to organizing his accounts. Every Monday, he found an urgent case, an important call, an unavoidable meeting. The dopaminergic mechanism worked with cruel perfection. Resolving the client's case delivered immediate and measurable reward. Reviewing his own finances delivered only present discomfort for an invisible future relief. The brain chose the case every week for years. And here is the truth. You recognize that lawyer, not because you lived the same situation, but because you lived the same logic. There is always an urgent and safe task available to replace that important and uncertain action that your future demands. And until you understand that this substitution is automatic, neurological, and predictable, you will keep thinking the problem is you. The problem was never you. It was the absence of information about what was happening inside you. And now that you have that information, the question changes completely. It is no longer how to force myself to do what needs to be done. It is how to reorganize the environment so that what needs to be done generates the signal my brain recognizes as a reward right now. So what changes when you understand that procrastination is not a character flaw? It is a neurological system operating exactly as it was designed to operate. Everything changes, and nothing changes at the same time if you stay only at the level of understanding. First, guilt loses its foundation, and that matters more than it seems, because guilt consumes energy that should go toward action. Every time you condemn yourself for having postponed again, you spend mental resources on self-punishment that could be spent on reorganization. Hill saw this in every person he interviewed and recorded it as one of the greatest drains on human potential. The habit of using energy to punish yourself for the past instead of using that same energy to build the next move. Write this down. Stop spending fuel to punish yourself. Use that fuel to move. Second, the problem stops being you and becomes the environment you built around your goals. This is a radical shift, because when the problem is you, the solution is for you to become a different person, more disciplined, more focused, stronger. That is impossible, and you know it because you have already tried. But when the problem is the environment, the solution is to redesign the environment. That is possible. That is concrete. That is something you can do in the next few hours. Hill wrote in 1937 that dominant thoughts materialize into physical equivalents, what neuroscience confirms today in even more specific terms. If every important action in your day generates immediate discomfort and distant reward, while every distraction offers instant relief, your brain will choose distraction every time with mathematical precision. Not out of weakness, by design. Say this out loud. The environment I built is keeping me still. I can build another one. Third, and this is the point Hill considered the most critical of all, chronic procrastination reveals a design problem, not a discipline problem. And design has a technical solution. When you stop condemning yourself and start observing the dopaminergic pattern operating in your daily choices, a different question emerges. Not how to force myself to act, but how to reorganize the tasks that matter so that they deliver measurable reward before the final result. Think about how Barnes did this. Edwin Barnes, the man who arrived at Edison's factory by freight train without money and left years later with exclusive contracts in 17 states. Every night after his shift as a janitor, he sat down with paper and pen. Not to affirm that he would be rich, to draw commercial routes, to sketch contracts, to create a concrete deliverable at the end of each work session. Every night ended with something physical created, a map, a sketch, a list. Immediate and measurable reward, built within a long-term goal. Barnes did not have more discipline than you. He had a system that generated reward now for actions that built results later. And here is the truth. The question that will change your life is not how to have more willpower. It is how to structure today so that the first step delivers something your brain recognizes as a gain right now. A decision made, a document created, a message sent. Anything concrete and verifiable that your dopaminergic system can register as an immediate victory. Let me tell you something. The 21-day mental reprogramming planner exists exactly for this. It is not one more affirmations tool. It is a daily structure that transforms distant goals into concrete short-term deliverables, creating the reward cycle your brain needs to keep moving. It is pinned in the first comment. Go there. And if this content made sense to you, if you recognized your own pattern in this explanation, subscribe. Because this is not a message to hear once. It is a reprogramming that happens through repetition, and we have much more to build together. But before closing, there is one final layer, the most important of all. Because now that you understand that procrastination is not a moral failure, an even more dangerous belief will appear. And it is already operating in your mind right now. You made it here. That already says something about you. Most people would have closed the video at the second topic, when the explanation became uncomfortable, when the mirror became too clear. You stayed, and that is not small. Now let us close with what really matters. You know now that procrastination is not laziness. It is insufficient dopamine for an action that your primitive brain does not recognize as urgent. You know that studies confirm this. That Hill documented this before science had a name for it. That the problem was never who you are. It was the environment you built around who you want to become. But knowing is not enough. And Hill was absolutely explicit about this. Write this down. Understanding without movement is only intellectual comfort. Understanding the mechanism is the first step. The second step is to ask yourself one single question before closing this video and answering it with brutal honesty. What is the task you have been postponing that, if done in the next 3 days, would change something concrete in your life? Not the entire list. One, with a name, with a deadline, with a verifiable result you will be able to confirm when you finish. Not the 90-day goal, the first step of it. What Barnes did every night, not the empire, the sketch, not the signed contract, the drafted proposal. Say this out loud. I do not need everything right now. I need the first step right now. Say it again. Because that sentence is the difference between one more video watched and a life that truly begins to move. Hill documented that 92% of the people he interviewed waited to feel the urge to act before starting. And most of them waited their entire lives. Because motivation is not the cause of action, it is the consequence. Dopamine does not fire before you begin. It fires during. The feeling of wanting to do something comes after you start, not before. And if you are waiting to feel motivated to take the first step, you have reversed the neurological order of events. And here is the truth. The next video in this series will reveal the most destructive illusion in all of personal development, the belief that motivation must come before action. Hill called it the most dangerous of all illusions. And when you understand the mechanism behind it, what you learned today will make even more sense. But that is for the next video. What you do now matters more than what you will watch next. Close this video, get paper, write the name of the task, write the deadline, write the verifiable result, and begin, not tomorrow, now.